Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
I got a story here sent in by a lot of people, and it's interesting because a woman represented herself, and she won her case against a mechanic. And the headline tells you basically the outline of the story. It's kind of weird. Mechanic damages car beyond repair. Woman wins in civil suit. So the woman brought her car to a mechanic who damaged her car beyond repair, and then she was forced to sue him, and she won, representing herself. So this is from WBRZ. Brittany Weiss wrote this. After waiting several months for a refund on a botched car repair, a woman won her case in the civil court. The judge has ordered the mechanic to pay the woman $4,500 in damages after her car was dismantled, with the mechanic saying he couldn't put it back together again. Humpty Dumpty. So the woman says, I got it back in a box, referring to her car. In May of last year, the woman brought her 2010 Volkswagen EOS to the mechanic shop on Sunbelt Court in Baton Rouge. She had saved up to get the convertible top fixed. So weeks turned into months while the car was there, supposedly being fixed. And so it turns out the car is still, at one point, sitting in the garage, not being fixed, but taken apart. So the woman sat down and spoke with WBRZ about this. And they also sat down and talked with the mechanic. And it turns out that the mechanic says that he'd like to work with her regarding the car. This is what he's talking about on camera before the lawsuit. But he said that he could no longer put it back together again. He said, I told her I'd help her, I'd accommodate her, work with her, try to help her find a car, give her money toward a car. But, you know, if you have a vehicle brought into your shop and you're a mechanic and you look at it, you should know whether you think you can fix it or not. And it sounds like he didn't know whether he could fix it until he tore it apart and realized, oh, I can't fix this. But you should always be able to, I would think, reassemble what you disassembled. I remember as a little kid, knowing other little kids who took things apart and couldn't get them back together again. But again, those are little kids. So the woman says she was met with more delays, which she documented. She had all of her evidence recorded and chronologically displayed in a 3-ring binder and brought that to the city court and showed that to the judge. She represented herself. She also had detailed recordings of interactions and text messages with the shop. And again, apparently they admitted we don't have the ability to put this car back together again. So she said she also consulted ChatGPT on how to word some of her stuff. She said they gave me some of the best advice. So she added up her expenses, which included towing fees, Lyft rides, DoorDash meals, lost wages, and the fair market value for her car. And the judge sided in her favor. So she said, I just want everyone to know if you take your car to that place, it could end up in a box. Now, that makes me laugh, but for a reason different than what you're thinking. I guarantee you did not think the same thing I did. But I'll tell you in a second what I was thinking. So the car is not drivable in its current condition. It is in parts. So she's listed what's left along with the parts on Facebook Marketplace. Disassembled 2010 Volkswagen EOS. Some of you might notice that in a roundabout way, she may have come out ahead, because if the judge awards her $4,500 and she still has the car, that means she can sell what's left of the car and presumably get some money back for that. Also, you need to keep in mind that in many auto repair cases, you can't get compensation for things like what I could have done with the car when I was out driving around in it before, if I still had it. And of course, well, if the car is being worked on for some length of time, you're not going to have it anyway. But depends on whether you're allowed to get consequential damages. Consequential damages in some states aren't recoverable in a situation like this. However, I also got to point out, we've talked about on this channel before, that Michigan has a thing called the Motor Vehicle Service and Repair Act. And the Motor Vehicle Service and Repair Act used to say that if a place works in your car and screws it up, you can sue them for damages. It still says that technically, but our Supreme Court, in its infinite wisdom, said that as long as they put in some kind of good faith effort and start the job, they have performed the job. Therefore, these cases can no longer be brought in Michigan, for the most part, seeking damages under the Motor Vehicle Service Repair Act. The reason we like that act is that, number one, it spelled out what was wrong, and you could clearly point and go, that right there, they violated that, they violated that. But also, you get your attorney fees and court costs back, because this woman here, I don't know if she got those back or not, but she had to pay a filing fee, if nothing else, and she might have had a better chance if she brought an attorney. You might say better chance than what? Well, she may have won more money, I don't know. But my point is simply that she was forced to do this by herself. She got it done. I salute her for that. But there's a good chance that an attorney may have taken this even further. Now, the reason I laughed about the car being in a box, and I urge you to look this up. It's on YouTube. There was a show called Mad TV years ago. And a lot of people came up through Mad TV the way that they come up through Saturday Night Live. And on Mad TV, one guest host, one season, one episode is Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart, the comedian. And the episode is entitled Stop It. Stop It. And he plays a psychiatrist. And a woman comes into his office. And I'm going to ruin this for you, because it's still funny to go watch it. It's still funny. But if you don't, you'll understand. And a woman comes into his office and she goes, I've been recommended to you. I understand you're a good psychiatrist. He goes, yeah. He says, I've got a flat fee of $5. But that's okay, because I can cure you in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes for $5, you'll be cured. She goes, really? He goes, yeah. So he goes, what's your problem? And she goes, well, I've got this irrational fear of being buried alive in a box. It terrifies me. I can't function. I'm scared to be in a house because it looks like a box. Scared to ride in a car because it feels like a box. And I'm constantly worried about being buried alive in a box. It occupies my brain 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And he goes, oh, I got 2 words for you. Stop it! And she goes, but I can't stop thinking about it. Stop it! So, long story short, they go for several more minutes, and finally she goes, well, what if I can't just stop it? And he goes, how about this? Stop it, or I'll bury you alive in a box. So when I heard this woman got her car back in a box, I swear to you, the first thought I had was, oh, maybe she should bury it. But it's a crazy case, because I've been handling car cases for 34 years. And I've by the way, for every case I handle, I've talked to 100 people whose cases I didn't handle for whatever reason. I've never heard of a case where explicitly it went down like this, where she brings her car in to have something fixed. The guy takes it apart and stops and goes, I can't put it back together again, and I can't fix it. Now, I've had cases before where somebody brought their car into a shop to have it worked on. They tore it apart, were looking for parts, and then they went out of business. Or they just disappeared. Or parts of the car disappeared. Or they put it back together again wrong. I've had all those variations. But here, apparently, the mechanic and his shop are still there, still functioning. And the guy's just saying, yeah, there's your car. I took it apart. I can't put it back together again. And that, to me, is just mind-boggling. But I have to tell you, modern mechanics have an extremely difficult job. Think back to being a mechanic in the 50s or 60s, when you could pop the hood on the car and not even be told or even have to know what make or model anything was. Oh, is it carburetor, intake manifold, valve covers, exhaust manifolds, plug wires, distributor? Okay, you start poking around. Has it got spark? Has it got fuel? Nowadays, it's all these computers and stuff. Now, here, the situation, she says, was apparently with the roof on a convertible. I don't know anything about how the convertible top works. I don't know. But fact of the matter is that those things can get complicated because there's a lot of moving parts. So you take it apart, it might be difficult to put it back together again. And that's one of the keys of being good at something. If you want to excel in your field, learn as much as you can about something, but also try to spot your deficits. What things don't you know? What you do not know? And so if you're a really good mechanic, have you ever done a convertible top in a car before? If not, you might want to skip it. And one of the problems a lot of places have got, it's not just true with mechanics, it's true with almost any business out there. Somebody walks in the door with a problem and says, can you help me? And they don't want to turn down business because they need the money. But look what happens here. It backfires because now they owe her money. She gets her car back, and all they managed to do was waste their own time along with hers, and it's going to cost them. So there you go. But it's a wild story from WBRZ, Brittany Weiss. Mechanic damages car beyond repair. Woman wins in a civil suit, and now she's got a car in a box. Stop it. Questions or comments, put them below this. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. See, guys? The keyboard is in alphabetical order now.